Hello and welcome to the July 26th, 2026 episode of Nick's News. I am your host, Nick, brought to you by Some Budget Studios. That's right, we're putting money into this project of ours. We're live every Sunday, and I thank you all so much for tuning in or catching the replay on the Nick's News YouTube channel. This is a program dedicated to bringing good news to counter all the bad news that we are bombarded with on a daily basis, with the hope of bringing a little bit of joy back to the world. Several of our articles are pulled from sites like Industry Tap, Live Science, Positive.News, and GoodGoodGood.co, but we appreciate everything sent in by you, the newsies. Good evening, everybody. Happy to have everybody with us. Should be a good one. We've got a bunch of articles tonight. Eight good news articles. Great good news articles is what I should say. So I'm looking forward to it. I am also looking forward to our news brew. If you check out our Instagram posts that come out every Thursday, I post the news brew ahead of time, and this one is awesome. Look at this guy. Look at this guy. Look at him. Look at him. With bottle art like this, how could you pass up the opportunity for this brew? So this is another one from Werk Force Brewing Company. They're definitely putting in the work. And this is, they're kind of a hair of the dog brewery. They want you to be drinking all the time. So what's the best way to cure a hangover? Have some more alcohol. So this is a special recipe that is just for those rough mornings that you might have after a night out with friends. This is called N Bake Humongous Chungus. It is a massive Imperial Coffee Stout that rolls into the morning at 14% ABV, high octane. This is a no plans today kind of brew, so I'm definitely going to have a blast with this one. Again, I hate wax seals on beer, so I already melted and cut away this one, and we need the Balisong bottle opener's help. Oh, I hate wax. It's so hard to get under. There we go. And then you don't want the wax to get in the beer. So you gotta be careful. Putting in the work is, as always, the Harpoon limited edition snifter. I almost said the Nick's News snifter. If I had a Nick's News snifter, that would be snifter. That would be so cool. I gotta get that. So let's get into the theatrics of a 5-minute pour with this straight up motor oil. This Morning Joe motor oil. Oh my gosh, that's dark. Workforce is slowly but surely becoming a favorite of mine for stouts. Angry Chair is still pretty high up there, as is New Holland, but these Workforce stouts are really doing some crazy stuff. So this one was aged for 2 years in bourbon barrels. It was brewed with Golden Promise, Pale Oats, Munich, Chocolate Extra Special Malts, and milk sugar. And it was hopped with Magnum hops, rested on cocoa nibs from Haiti, Ghana, and Ecuador, as well as Madagascar vanilla and Ethiopia Souk Kuto coffee, roasted by their friends at 10 Drops Coffee. And it was fermented with Chico ale yeast. I love that they go over all of the stuff that went into the beer too. It's really cool. And it smells amazing. I got a little bit of wax in there, of course, so I'll pick that out. I don't like wax tops. Oh, I'm gonna enjoy this beer. Shoutouts. Grand Rapids' first and only cat lounge is right in the heart of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Happy Cat Café is a cozy little spot for cat lovers, coffee drinkers, and anyone who just needs a break from the chaos. They've got colorful lattes, refreshing lotus drinks, and a laid-back vibe that pairs perfectly with a lapful of purring fluff. Partnered with Fig and Friends Animal Rescue, they give adoptable cats a comfy space to hang out, meet new people, and find their forever homes. Every visit helps support local rescue, and you might fall in love and leave with a new best friend. Visit all their socials and show them some love. Links are included below in the description of the video. To Happy Cat Café and Fig and Friends Animal Rescue, continuing to find forever homes for cats. Cheers. Let me tell you, it's going to be a late night because this beer. Wow. Oh my gosh. Hey, Auntie Anne. Glad to have you with us. This is a big beer. Whew. All right, next one. We're going to give a shout out to Tesla Tree Services Steve and Joe because they just wrapped up shooting for Philadoptable's 2027 Hunks for Hounds charity calendar. Yes, Newsies, we'll let you know when the calendar is available. Proceeds from the calendar will go to support Philadelphia Urgent Rescue and Relief Incorporated. To Steve and Joe of Tesla Tree Services, as well as everybody who participated in the Philadoptables 2027 Hunks for Hounds charity calendar production, cheers. It's going to be small sips tonight. Small sips. And I don't think we have any engineering articles, but I don't know. We'll find out. But that's all. You all drink for that one, not me. News quote: Home is people, not a place. If you go back there after the people are gone, then all you can see is what is not there anymore. That quote comes from Margaret Astrid Lindholm Ogden, née Lindholm, who was born in 1952. Known by her pen names of Robin Hobb and Megan Lindholm, she's an American writer of speculative fiction and is best known for her fantasy novels set in the realm of the Enderlings. She's got quite the extensive list of novels that she has produced, and I really love that quote because something that I've been saying a lot lately is that home is not places. Home is the people that make the place. Home is the people that we find that comfort in, that comfort of being around. It really is something else. You can go home to a place over and over again, to a house, to a townhome, to an apartment. But what makes it a home? Is it that all your stuff is there? Or is it all of the memories and all of the important points that were made with somebody else? So, in my opinion, I believe that home is people. And so this quote really resonated with me in that home is people, not a place. If you go back there after the people are gone, then all you can see is what is not there anymore. So to Margaret Astrid Lindholm Ogden, née Lindholm, cheers. Bug update. All the bugs are A-OK. Elmira's been trying to trample her spider plant into non-existence because she hasn't just ripped it out of the ground. Little John has been doing quite a bit of digging and is continuing to work on his burrow, which makes me a little sad. He's always been so active, and I feel like once he's got that burrow done, he's just going to sit in it all day, but we'll see. The Cuddle Puddle, my Madagascar hissing roaches, definitely had a breakup because they are all at different corners of the tank and do not play nicely anymore. And Sue has been surprisingly active on these hotter and higher humid days. I actually just before while we were prepping for the episode, he was completely out of the hide and in his tank, and before I could snap a picture, he just moseyed on back in, and I was like, "Curse you." He is a very impressive specimen, and somewhere down the line on the Instagram, I know there are going to be some pictures of him that I have managed to snap. So keep an eye on that if you want to check out my biggest, baddest scorpion out of the bunch. Everything's good in the bug neighborhood, so. With that, let's get into the meat and potatoes of our broadcast, which is our good news. And our good news is broken up into 4 major categories. Those categories are science and technology, health and medicine, flora and fauna, aka plants and animals, and wholesome notes, the really nice ones that we like to end on. We got 8 articles, and it's pretty well spread throughout all of the categories. So we're going to start off in category 1, science and technology. Our first article in here we called "Move Over, Navy SEALs, the Roaches Are Here to Help." I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to check it out. We have the links to all of these articles in the description for our videos. So if you want to check them out, you can do so at your leisure. And we highly recommend that you do. Give these sites some foot traffic, as well as checking out other articles that we don't present, because these sites produce a ton of good news that goes under the radar. We also like to ask at this time, if you can, we really appreciate it if you could hit the thumbs up on this video if you are enjoying our content. Thumbs up, likes, views, comments, all the interaction is what is driving the YouTube algorithms. They just redid it, apparently. I learned that from another YouTuber's video, that the algorithms all got redone again. Interaction with the content is the driver, and because of all of you and your interaction with our content, we continue to grow. So if you don't mind hitting that thumbs up, if you like what we do, by all means, it would be greatly appreciated. With that, let's get into the article. Scientists build a tiny diving suit for cockroaches, turning them into search and rescue cyborgs. This was published 2 weeks ago. It says 2 weeks ago. This was published on the 12th of July, 2026, to Live Science by Sasha Parr. Oh, there we go. We're going to start off right away. Engineers have designed a waterproof diving suit for cyborg cockroaches that enables the hybrid insects to survive and roam underwater for up to 3 hours. This function expands the capabilities of cyborg insects and could one day be deployed in disaster zones, according to the team. A built-in oxygen generator and silicone tubes deliver the gas directly to the cockroaches' breathing holes, known as spiracles. The design is adapted for use in low oxygen conditions as well as submerged environments, the researchers said in a new study that was published June 29th in the journal Nature Communications. Our approach combines a soft waterproof shell with a simple yet reliable chemical oxygen generator. Study co-author Shinjiro Umizu, a professor in the School of Creative Science and Engineering at Waseda University in Japan, said in a statement. This allows the insects to retain its natural mobility while being protected from an environment that it cannot normally survive in. Cyborg insects are living insects that have been fitted with electronic controllers that guide their movements. Researchers have previously used them in search and rescue operations to access and investigate hard-to-reach areas. For example, they were used in rescue efforts after the devastating magnitude 7.7 earthquake in Myanmar in March of 2025 that killed at least 3,700 people and injured 4,800 more. The advantage of cyborg insects over tiny robots is that the former employ insects' muscles to move, whereas the latter rely on high-power batteries that consume energy and can run out of steam. Hey, Becky, you have stumbled into a follow-up to an article that we had before. So in a previous article, we talked about cyborg insects, this group at a university that was basically turning cockroaches into little cyborgs to move them through hard-to-reach areas for search and rescue. Well, now they've given them a diving suit. It is wild. The cyborg insects deployed in Myanmar were developed in the laboratory of Hirotaka Sato, senior author of the new study and a professor in the School of Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering at Singapore's Nanyang Technological University. Sato has spent more than a decade pioneering cyborg insect technology. He and colleagues hope the new diving suit will extend cyborg insects' operational range to include flooded and partially submerged areas in disaster zones. Yes, like little submarines. The suit consists of a flexible shell, 4 silicone tubes that attach to the spiracles of the insect, and a transparent 3D printed oxygen tank. To make the tank produce oxygen, the researchers sprinkled manganese dioxide onto a highly absorbent sponge inside the tank. They then injected a small amount of diluted hydrogen peroxide, which breaks down slowly in the presence of manganese dioxide to produce oxygen. Finally, the team sealed the tank with ultraviolet adhesive to prevent leaks. The key engineering challenge was to build a system that was small, light, and flexible enough for the insect to wear, while still producing enough oxygen for long-duration underwater movement, Umezu said. The silicone tubes send oxygen straight into the thoracic spiracles, while the abdominal spiracles, which are lower down the insect's body, take in the oxygen contained in the suit. Our new insect diving suit works like the oxygen tank used by human divers, Sato said in the statement. The silicone tubes can be attached and removed without pain or harm to the insect, the researchers added. The researchers tested the suit on a cyborg Madagascar hissing cockroach, Gramphadorhina portentosa, which is actually the species of a couple of my Madagascar hissing cockroaches, which they placed in a water tank and later sent into a plastic tube that simulated submerged and low oxygen environments. The suit enabled the cockroaches to roam underwater for up to 3 hours, raising the prospect that cyborg insects, including locusts and beetles, could one day be used to inspect flooded pipes, drains, tunnels, or other hard-to-access places. Next steps include improving the diving suit to potentially include sensors and a navigation system, and testing the design in simulated disaster environments, according to the statement. That is really amazing. To the group that has built a diving suit for a cyborg insect so that it can survive underwater and potentially explore other disaster areas in search of people. Cheers. Oh, Humongous Chungus. You are such a good beer. Whew. Oh, I see it. I see a typo I'm going to have to fix in post. This next one we called Imagine Changing the Batteries in This Smoke Detector. I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to check this out. These fire-spotting satellites could find wildfires before they become disasters. This was published on July 13th of 2026 to Gizmodo by Ellen Lapointe. The U.S. wildfire season got off to a roaring start this year. By the end of June, more than 3 million acres had burned across the country, which is 157% of the previous 10-year average. Fortunately, wildfire responders are about to have a wealth of new data at their disposal. California-based Muon Space has launched the first 3 operational satellites for Earth Fire Alliance's, or the EFA's, FireSat constellation. EFA bills FireSat as the first constellation designed specifically for wildfire detection, monitoring, and response. The 3 satellites launched from Vandenberg Space Force Base aboard SpaceX's Transporter 17 mission on Tuesday. About 2 hours after deployment, Muon Space confirmed the satellites were healthy and had established contact with ground operators. This launch was made possible by the success of the Protoflight mission, which sent a demonstration FireSat to orbit in March of 2025. In October, the satellite identified a small roadside fire in Oregon that went undetected by existing space-based monitoring systems, validating its performances. The newly launched operational satellites will lay the foundation for the 50 FireSat constellation EFA and Muon Space hope to deploy by 2030. Can you imagine, hey Charlie, can you imagine a satellite up in space, orbiting the planet, with enough focus, and resolution to spot a fire on the side of a road. Not even a big fire. Could be a brush fire, but it's still seeing it from space. That is wild. Firesat has already proven that a satellite built specifically for wildfire can detect fires earlier and smaller than was previously possible. John Dyer, CEO of Muon Space, said in a statement. With these satellites, we turn that proof into an operational service, the start of dedicated coverage that fire managers can count on day after day. As Earth's temperature rises, the U.S. wildfire season is growing longer and more intense, and this year is a clear example of how climate change primes the landscape for ignition. Record low snowpack across the west and widespread drought conditions in the southeast have parched much of the country. Brutal, expansive heat waves are only making matters worse. Several devastating fires broke out exceptionally early this year. In February, the Ranger Road fire scorched nearly 300,000 acres in Oklahoma and Kansas. Then, in March, the Morrill and Cottonwood fires together devoured more than 770,000 acres across Nebraska. But even those massive blazes started with a single spark. The trouble is, traditional wildfire monitoring satellites struggle to detect small fires, which makes it difficult for responders to catch them before they erupt into major disasters. Firesat is different. Each satellite is equipped with a 6-channel multispectral infrared payload that can detect fires as small as 270 square feet, or 25 square meters if you haven't landed people on the moon, even through smoke and clouds, according to Muon Space. The proto-flight mission already demonstrated Firesat's unique capabilities. The small fire in Oregon was among over 1 million multispectral infrared images the demonstration satellite captured during its first year in orbit. If they deliver as promised, the 3 fully operational satellites launched last week will expand Firesat's reach, observing every fire-prone region on Earth at least twice per day. Muon Space and EFA plan to accelerate this cadence as they expand the constellation, targeting hourly global revisit by 2029. Muon Space estimates that an hourly Firesat revisit rate could save the U.S. more than $1 billion in fire damage costs per year, protecting 3,500 home and properties and reducing burned land by 2.3 million acres. What's more, the company expects the constellation to prevent 21.9 million tons of carbon emissions from smoke, weakening the self-reinforcing relationship between wildfires and climate change. These projections are exciting, and the success of the proto-flight mission suggests Muon Space and EFA have built a more effective and useful monitoring system. However, these 3 newly launched satellites will still need to prove themselves. Joe Tyler, director of the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, also known as CAL FIRE, is confident that they will. The Firesat launch marks a transformative step towards space-enabled wildfire intelligence, strengthening California's resilience and demonstrating the power of global collaboration in confronting increasingly complex fire years, he said in a statement. That is awesome. Seriously, to everybody involved at Muon Space and the Earth Fire Alliance with Firesat, being able to detect wildfires before they get out of hand from space. Cheers. All right, that's going to get us out of science and technology. We are going to move on to category 2, health and medicine. We've got 2 articles in here, and we called the first one, Let's Paint Some Happy Little Health Sensors. As in Bob Ross. So, I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to check this out. New paint-on health sensors are as fun as face paint. This was published on July 13th to Popular Science by Laura Basis. Picture it. A colorful tattooed tiger, a shark, or rainbow that can read your brain waves, power robotic prosthetics, and even spot heart attacks earlier. Engineers at Penn State University filed a provisional patent for these colorful and customizable wearables that can be painted directly onto a patient's skin. In addition to using all the colors of the rainbow, the sensors use materials that bond better with the skin, making them more sensitive, durable, and accurate. The stylish sensors are described in a study published in the journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. All wearable healthcare technologies are powered by electrode contacts that are attached somewhere to the body. These electrodes can then interpret the health and activity of a patient's heart, muscles, or brain by recording the different electrical signals produced by the body. Brain signals are processed into EEG readings, which mirror the activity in a patient's neurons. Heart activity is processed into ECG signals, allowing physicians to measure a patient's heart rate while exercising and record a detailed view of the heart's electrical activity to monitor for issues. Muscle activity can be processed into EMG signals, which can track muscle contractions. Becky says, I think of the glucose monitors when you read the title, but as always, this is cool as well. I agree. Electrode designs generally use rigid metal-based materials. While these materials offer stability, they often struggle to stay attached to the body when a patient is moving. Many experimental designs use a soft, jelly-like material called hydrogel, which can absorb and swell with water. This helps them stretch and better match the body's movements, but it can dehydrate over time. The electrodes then lose adhesion and stretchiness. According to PhD student and study co-author Wang-King Zhang, the electrodes peeling off is not the only factor that contributes to less accurate sensor readings. The actual act of applying the sensors can affect how they work. Many commercially available sensors also have difficulty accurately recording what is going on inside of a patient's body, especially when they are applied to hairy or sweaty skin. Most commercial electrodes are prefabricated in a lab or factory and then layered on the skin, meaning there is an air gap between the skin and the electrode, which negatively impacts sensing performance, Zhang explained in a statement. They added, to address this, we've developed conductive ink that can be painted directly to the skin. After drying, it acts as a functional electrode. To create these new sensors, the team mixed several different types of polymers, or plastics, with acidic additives into a water-based solution to create a colorful ink. The new ink has the consistency of glue when it is wet, but can dry onto the skin in less than 10 minutes. The drying process can even be accelerated with the help of a regular hairdryer. The ink itself almost behaves like face paint, study co-author Larry Cheng explained. They continued, it starts out almost transparent, but you can use food dye to pigment the ink into whatever colors you need to paint whatever design you have in mind, like a cartoon or Superman. This allows us to completely personalize the wearable to a person's preference. In addition to being fully customizable to whatever the patient can envision, the team says that the sensors powered by their electrodes are extremely responsive. Zhang explained that painting the material directly onto the skin helps it conform more closely to the skin's texture, and in turn improves measurements. To enhance the stability between the electrodes and the sensors that they inform, a connective region of the electrodes is painted onto a porous silver textile, somewhat like a metal fabric that is then placed onto the skin. The wet ink then flows into the textile before hardening and sticking to the surface of the skin. That connective portion is then clipped into a port on the larger electronic module. The electric component is taped onto the wearer's skin underneath their clothing, and it wirelessly transmits the electrical signals collected by the ink to a computer via Bluetooth. So the patient isn't even like strapped to the machine. They just have a really cool body tattoo, just like a stick on, and through Bluetooth it sends signals about whatever it needs to read to the computer. That's awesome. The textile's porous structure allows the electrodes to stretch to over 150% of their original size without breaking, according to the study. At the same time, it helps them more uniformly adhere to the skin's texture and record electrical signals more effectively. Hey, Mike. Over multiple days with other materials, sweat and moisture will accumulate on the electrode interface, potentially causing irritation or disconnection from the skin, Chang said. And they added, by using a porous structure, we can allow moisture or hair to better pass through the material, making the electrodes more conductive, adhesive, and comfortable. In one experiment, the painted electrodes could effectively track the ECG readings during a test subject's daily activities over the course of 12 hours. During another test, a different subject tracked their readings while exercising, showing that the electrodes maintain their adhesion and accuracy even during physical activity. A lot in the past with like ECG, EEG, EMG, you're hooked up directly to that machine. Those electrodes are going from wherever needs to be measured and by wire is going to that device. You could go for a run with this on, and the doctor can see how your body's responding. That's fantastic. The team also tracked EMG signals of a subject's forearm and fed them to a robotic prosthetic, allowing the individual to control the robotic hand without touching it. What did I just read? What did I just read there? I'm going to read it again because it bears repeating. And think about how cool and how amazing this is in the realm of prosthetics. The team also tracked EMG signals of a subject's forearm and fed them to a robotic prosthetic, allowing the individual to control the robotic hand without touching it. It didn't even have to be on them. It's just there, and through Bluetooth, with muscle command from the forearm, they're manipulating the robotic hand. That is an amazing improvement for prosthetics. Although we tested the daily use application over a 12-hour period, this is not the limit for these electrodes, Cheng said. The electrodes themselves can be washed away and easily reapplied. The big idea behind this is that in the future, you could potentially have a more expensive sensing module that remains separate from the system, but the electrodes themselves can be disposable. A single bottle of ink could provide enough material to paint multiple electrodes over the course of several days or a week. The team plans to keep developing their electrodes so that they could one day be used to sense more advanced biomarkers, such as cortisol or glucose, just like Becky brought up earlier with glucose sensing. Can you imagine if you just paint your glucose sensor onto you? How crazy would that be? The fun colors and design possibilities could also be particularly helpful for pediatricians, as going to the doctor is not exactly fun for most children. This is unbelievable. This is an amazingly good news article. To everybody involved, all of these engineers at Penn State University who have worked out how to create a paint-on electrode for doing EEG, ECG, and EMG, and controlling prosthetics. Cheers. Becky said, like a unicorn that saves your life, or a dolphin, or a possum, if you will. I reiterate, this is cool. Can you imagine? You just get a paint on possum and it controls your prosthetic leg or who knows what. Like, the possibilities are insane with that kind of technology. I'm all for that. This next one this next one is a Saviors of All Ages article. It's really an amazing article. And I will copy and paste this into the chat for y'all to check this out. And thank you all again for being with us tonight. I can see our concurrent viewers. I am so happy to see everybody here. So I can't see the list of names, but I am so happy to have you here, believe me. With 100% youth-led nonprofit, Teen is breaking down mental health stigmas for young people of color. This was published on July 12th of 2026 to Nice News by Rebecca Brands. When Sarah Shelke was 13 years old, a close teenage family member was diagnosed with depression. It was the first time Shelke witnessed mental health struggles in the real world, and her natural instinct was to educate herself. Within months, she enrolled in psychology classes at a community college. That was really where my idea for advocating for mental health accessibility came from, Shelke, now 18, told Nice News, noting that her loved one faced a lot of financial barriers and also cultural stigma for seeking help. The daughter of South Asian immigrants, Shelke explained that, as can often be the case with families who move to the U.S., working hard was a top priority. Accessing resources like therapy was not. Her newfound understanding inspired her to create Mind for Youth, which began as an educational Instagram account when Shelke was 14. Today, it's one of the world's largest 100% youth-led nonprofits, focusing on teen mental health, particularly for teens of color. Mind for Youth has around 171 chapters in over 70 countries. Initiatives include providing self-care and heart care kits to youth in homeless shelters and foster care, offering free therapy sessions, creating kindness posters to nurture compassionate environments in schools, and more. One program called Art Care invites volunteers to design handmade cards, jewelry, or other crafts at home and send them in for recipients in need of TLC. The nonprofit being run by teens is a key part of the organization's success, per Shelke. I think young people might feel like there's a big difference when they have to speak to professionals who are a lot older than them, she said. They might not really feel like they can relate to them. And so I think by being a youth-led organization, we have a unique sense of connection with the people that we're trying to help. Last month, Shelke, who recently graduated high school in Cupertino, California, was honored for her work by the JED Foundation, a national nonprofit that helps protect teens' mental health. Each year, the foundation selects 2 recipients for its Student Voice of Mental Health Awards, recognizing 1 high school student and 1 college student who have advocated on behalf of their peers and school systems. Each awardee receives a $3,000 scholarship. This year's college recipient is Kira Wagner, a Spelman College rising senior from Nashville. Shelke, who's headed to UC Berkeley to study economics and neuroscience, what a combination right there, has admired the foundation since starting her own advocacy work. She shared that whenever she needed statistics for grant applications or to simply learn more about mental health, that's where she turned. The JED Foundation is where I would actually look for those kinds of resources, she said. And so it feels like a bit of a full circle moment with that. She continued, I think the honor has also opened up a lot of doors and opportunities for me because especially being a young leader, it's hard to have established credibility. But by being recognized by a very reputable organization, I think that it'll definitely help me reach more young people and partner with adults and other companies having this award and moving forward. Her advocacy has made a difference closer to home as well. Mine for Youth has had a really great impact in my family, Shelke said, explaining that the more she scaled the organization, the more involved her loved ones became in the work, attending in-person events and assembling kits alongside her. I've seen it also just directly impact them as well, so they've become more open to the conversation around mental health. When when Nice News asked if there was anything else Shelke wanted to add as their interview wrapped up, she was quick to respond. If I had to just leave kind of a message to young people, it would be to not feel alone or isolated, she shared, adding, and just to reiterate, your feelings are completely valid, and so I wouldn't feel embarrassed if you did have to seek help or talk to someone. She noted that teachers, coaches, counselors, or any other trusted adult can be a good choice if a teen is unwilling or unable to speak to their parents about their mental health, though she recommends they consider giving the latter a try if possible. I know it can be sort of an uncomfortable conversation to begin with, but eventually, I think it is also sometimes important to just tell them what's going on and see if they can help you as well. Wow. To Sarah Shelke, who at 13 years of age saw a family member experiencing mental health issues and decided to educate herself and create a nonprofit to help others like that individual and continues to grow it to this day. You are definitely a savior of all ages. Cheers. That is a really crazy good one. All right. That is going to get us out of health and medicine. We're going to move on to category 3, flora and fauna, aka wholesome notes. We've got our 2 articles in here, and we call this first one Canaries of the Sea Fly to Better Waters. I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to check this out. The U.S. government approves emergency rescue of belugas from marine land in Niagara Falls, Ontario. This was published on July 8th of 2026 to the CBC News by Paul Forsyth. The U.S. government has formally approved an emergency rescue of most of the beluga whales from marine land in Niagara Falls, Ontario, to aquariums in the United States. Moving the whales from the once popular theme park a few kilometers from the Horseshoe Falls to the American aquariums is expected to take some weeks and still involves some steps, including clearance by Canadian veterinarians, for the whales to travel. The Department of Fisheries and Oceans Canada, or the DFO, recently endorsed a rescue plan for the 30 belugas still living at the theme park that closed to the public in 2024, which would see the whales split up and sent to Oceanographic Valencia in Spain, or one of 4 U.S. locations: the Georgia Aquarium in Atlanta, the Shed Aquarium in Chicago, and 2 SeaWorld facilities in San Diego, California, and San Antonio, Texas. Thank you very much, Becky, for watching as long as you could, and thank you very much for liking and sharing. Greatly appreciated. You have a good night. Johnny Ford, the Vice President of Communications for Shed Aquarium, told CBC on Wednesday that under the current plan, 28 of the belugas will be taken to the American aquariums, with 2 other whales bound for Spain. The Spanish aquarium is still awaiting the necessary permits from the Spanish government, the American Aquarium Collective said in a statement on Wednesday. The group said marine land is in a financial crisis and is no longer willing or able to continue their whales' care. Marineland said it welcomed the U.S. authorization of the relocation. We recognize we can no longer provide the long term care these animals require, and we believe this rescue is in the whales' best interest, Marineland said in a statement. The U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, authorized the emergency rescue, sending the whales to the aquariums in the U.S. that are all accredited by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. DFO Minister Joanne Thompson said in a statement on Wednesday that the approval is an encouraging and critical next step for the safe relocation of the whales. Permits from the Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora, or CITES, needed to take the whales out of the country have been issued, and as a condition of approving the export permits, a health check for each animal must be completed by a Canadian veterinarian, Thompson said. Once this step has been completed and all appropriate documentation has been provided to Fisheries and Oceans Canada, I will provide the final Fisheries Act authorizations to enable the relocation, she said. The latest milestone means dedicated care staff from the U.S. aquariums will soon arrive at Marineland to assess the whales' well-being and make preparations for travel, the American consortium said. Once the belugas are cleared for travel by Canadian veterinarians, aquarium experts will accompany the animals to their new homes, where they will be met with diverse seafood to meet their nutritional needs, high-quality environments with guaranteed water quality, and on-site medical care should they require it at any time, their statement said. I've actually gone to both Shed Aquarium and the Georgia Aquarium in Atlanta. I absolutely loved the setups that they had for their belugas. It was really cool to see these very large areas of water that these animals need, and these aquariums are able to provide it. So it's really cool to see that these animals may be going to those two locations. Producer Donna has an update. Oh my gosh! Producer Donna's update. The first 6 have flown out and safely arrived at their new homes. So 6 down, 24 more to go, but that is a great start. 6 beluga whales, have gone to their new homes. That is awesome. Thank you very much for that update, Producer Donna. This rescue effort will take several weeks to mobilize and complete, and the comfort and safety of the whales remains of the utmost importance. The statement continued to read. Details will continue to change as this process moves forward, but the aquariums are committed to providing accurate updates along the way. Last January, CBC News reported that Marineland was threatening to euthanize the 30 belugas and 4 dolphins unless Canada granted permission to ship them to the United States. That came after the DFO last fall denied Marineland's request to export its belugas to a theme park in China. In a statement at the time, Thompson said she could not, in good conscience, approve the export to China, and that her decision aligned with regulations in the Fisheries Act to protect marine mammals from exploitation. To approve the request would have meant a continued life in captivity and a return to public entertainment, Thompson said. That is really awesome to see that we've got some good clearance to start to move 30 beluga whales from this park that sadly had to close down to new places across the world, the United States and Spain, where they will be able to be taken care of again. So, and 6 of them have already moved. So to everybody involved in this process, saving these canaries of the sea, cheers. I'm actually going to take another sip. This next one is an obligatory cat article, but we also called it, aka Autobots, Transform and Roll Out. Yes, I was definitely a Transformers nerd growing up. I'll copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to check this out. This is adorable. This kitten couldn't walk on his own, so a vet made him a custom wheelchair out of Hot Wheels. This was published on July 23rd of 2026 to goodgoodgood.co by Cameron Baker. When a small tabby kitten arrived at Cincinnati Animal Care, a shelter in Ohio, he couldn't stand or walk on his own. Named Gelato by shelter staff, the kitten had a spinal injury that left his back legs too weak and unable to support him. Gelato was still able to move his legs and retain bowel and bladder control, which veterinarians said was promising. But the kitten still needed a way to navigate. He was deemed too tiny to fit into any of the existing mobility devices, so veterinary assistant lead Mallory Smith started thinking outside the box. We really wanted to play and walk around. Or he really wanted to play and walk around, Smith told Local 12 News. So I used what I had. What she had was cardboard, rulers, Hot Wheels toy cars, and plenty of duct tape. Shelter medicine is all about working with what you have, Cincinnati Animal Care wrote on Instagram. And a little creativity can go a very long way. Gelato, who now wears his Transformers-inspired mobility aid while in foster care with Smith, is getting stronger every day, the shelter shared. It's already making a difference, the shelter wrote about the DIY wheelchair. He is even starting to stand for little moments on his own. Every tiny step is a huge victory, and we're so excited to watch him continue on this journey. The vet team at the shelter told Local 12 News that they are pretty optimistic that Gelato will make a full recovery. While plenty of disabled dogs and cats rely on wheelchairs to live comfortable and fulfilling lives, Gelato may not even need a mobility device in the future. Thanks to Mallory's incredible ingenuity and dedication, Gelato has a little extra support as he works toward a stronger tomorrow, Cincinnati Animal Care wrote on Instagram. Sometimes all it takes is a little creativity, a lot of heart, and someone who refuses to give up. To Gelato, the tiny tabby kitten, and to everybody at Cincinnati Animal Care, as well as Mallory Smith, for building him a wheelchair so he can get around while he's gaining his strength back after his injury. Cheers. And Gelato, transform and roll out. All right, that's going to get us out of flora and fauna. We are going to move into category 4, the wholesome notes, the really nice ones at the end of the day. This first one is, of course, I like turtles and the people who rescue them. I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to check this out. Jet ski riders conduct rescue mission for sea turtle with bloody peeling infection on her shell. This was published on June 26th of 2026 to goodgoodgood.co by Cameron Baker. A group of jet skiers was enjoying a day on the water just off the coast of Magnetic Island in Australia's West Point when they stumbled across a green sea turtle in dire straits. Andrew Eslick of Magnetic Island Jet Skis was leading the tour and initially thought the sea creature was just enjoying the sun. But as he got closer, worry crept in. We get closer to it and I think, oh no, this turtle's not moving. I think I'm about to show everyone a dead turtle, he told the Australian Broadcasting Corporation. Fortunately, when Eslick reached out to pat the turtle on its head, it opened its eyes. But it was clear the animal was unhealthy and weak. Her shell started having little bloody patches all over it where her shell had become soft and started to peel off like wet paper, he described to the ABC. The tour group insisted on helping, cutting their tour short to save the turtle. The tour collectively made the decision that we'd rather help than continue on, Eslick wrote on Facebook. With the help of a nearby lifeguard, the turtle, which was estimated to be over 220 pounds, or 100 kilograms, was strapped to a board and brought back to Horseshoe Bay. Once they got back to the island, experts at the Magnetic Island Network for Turtles Rehabilitation Center were standing by, ready to intervene. She was whisked off by the vets, Eslick concluded on Facebook, and hopefully she makes a full recovery. Eslick's 3-year-old son dubbed the turtle Princess Peach, and Mint kept the name. Now she's in the care of veterinarians, who estimate she is anywhere between 50 and 80 years old. Aside from her infectious lesions, Princess Peach is deemed to be a healthy turtle. We're actually still trying to find out what the causative agent of her infection is, but she is healing well in care. Lily Donnelly, the rehabilitation clinic coordinator at Mint, told the ABC. Mint has created a GoFundMe to help subsidize her care. Being such a big turtle, her food costs will match, plus her ongoing medical costs, the fundraiser reads. Your donation will go directly to helping get Peach back in the ocean where she belongs. Donnelly said it could be less than 12 weeks before Peach returns to the ocean, but that once she is healed, she'll be tagged for future monitoring. All turtles under Queensland government regulations are tagged, she told the ABC. If you're ever out snorkeling and you see a turtle with a tag, take a photo, and it might come from one of our rehab groups. Green sea turtles, like Peach, were listed as endangered on the International Union for Conservation of Nature Red List from 1982 until 2025, and are now hailed as a conservation success story. But keeping the population protected requires the work of expert veterinarians, the everyday people like Eslick's jet ski tour group. That's what we're all about on the island, Eslick told the ABC of his customers, making sure we look after the water and look after our animals in this area. That is awesome. To Andrew Eslick and his group of oh my gosh, jet skiers who decided they were going to cut their tour short to help a sea turtle in need, and to Princess Peach the sea turtle on a speedy recovery. Cheers. This last one is really great. We called this one a ride to remember. I will copy and paste this into the chat if y'all want to check this out. With tearing up just a little bit. With cross-country bike tour, motorcyclists raised over $1 million for the Wounded Warrior Project. This was published on July 11th of 2026 to Nice News by Rebecca Brands. If you happen to see a horde of motorcyclists driving Harley-Davidsons through your town at some point over the past 3 weeks, you may have caught a glimpse of the Great American Convoy. Concluding after cruising from Arkansas to Maine and then over through the Midwest, the epic motorcycle tour raised over $1 million for the Wounded Warrior Project. Now in its 4th year, the convoy is the passion project of Adam Sandoval, an avid biker and philanthropist who's been fundraising for veterans through motorcycle campaigns for over a decade. Sandoval didn't serve in the military himself, a regret he said drives his passion to help those who did. It's a principle he thinks all people should live by. The theory is, if you did not serve in the military for whatever reason, that you should find time to serve those who did. Sandoval, 48, told Nice News from a stop in upstate New York on July 2nd. And that's what we're doing out here. We're serving the men and women who served our country bravely. The tour, which kicked off June 20th and was presented by Harley-Davidson, saw bikers from all over the country join up to ride with Sandoval. Sometimes dozens, sometimes hundreds. The largest group he's ever had was 2,000, he said. They stopped at dealerships and other venues along the route, meeting with veterans and, in some cases, the loved ones of those who died in service. It's heart-wrenching to hear all the pain that is out there, around the sacrifices that are made, not just by the soldiers, but by their families. And it's heavy. He shared, "Every day I'm in a new town hearing new stories from new families, and it makes you realize just how much this country really has given so much for our freedoms." Sandoval said he enjoys working with the Wounded Warrior Project specifically because of the outsized impact the organization makes for those who've come back from active duty and are in need of assistance, many of whom don't know where to turn, or even that they should turn somewhere. That's a big piece of it. You know, a lot of these men and women who need the help will never come and find it on their own, explained Sandoval. And so it takes an organization like Wounded Warrior Project to spend the time and the energy to go into the communities, find these individuals that need help, and then get them enrolled and get them the help that they need. The people he rides with run the gamut, from veterans themselves to friends and family members of vets to people who are just looking for a way to experience a mix of adventure and meaning. Those who can't ride can donate and follow along with his endeavors on social media. "I kind of call myself the Forrest Gump of motorcycles," he said. "In the movie, he took off running and people just joined him for as long as they could. And I kind of do the exact same thing." We have included the links to the GoFundMe, as well as the links to, I'm trying to remember which links we've got. So we've got the Instagram for Adam Sandoval, as well as the Wounded Warrior Project's fundraising link in the description of our video. So if you feel inclined, you can check those out and provide. To Adam Sandoval and everybody involved with the Great American Convoy, who raised over $1 million for the Wounded Warrior Project, and to everything that the Wounded Warrior Project does. Cheers. Well, that's going to be it for tonight. 8 amazing articles. Just a lot of good news out there that sometimes goes under the radar. And it's incredible that so much does. So again, please, if you want, we implore you, check out the links in the description of our video and give all those sites that foot traffic they deserve, because they are finding amazing good news that we are just broadcasting for everybody. So I'd like to thank you all again for tuning in or catching the replay on the Nix News YouTube page. Again, we're live every Sunday, and our next episode will be on August 2nd of 2026. We encourage participation, so by all means, if you feel inclined, you can message or post suggestions for news brews, shoutouts, news quotes, and especially good news articles that we can present on future episodes. You can message us on Facebook or Instagram, or email us at somebudgetstudios@gmail.com. Links are in the description of our video. Feel free to like, subscribe, or comment on our content across all the platforms that we're on: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, right here, and even TikTok, where we're posting really good news nibbles on TikTok. Please no SEO improvement advertisements. We're not interested. Those likes, those shares, those subscribes, those comments, everything, all of the interaction with our content is what continues to drive us and continues to push us into the algorithm for all of these platforms, so that we can continue to get good news and joy out. And it really is because of all of you that we continue to drive that. So thank you all so much. It really is amazing that y'all are with us and supporting us. So as always, thank you again. I love you all. Have a great night, and I will play us out.